What's going on, world of YouTube? Welcome back to the Common Sense Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Grandmaster Scott, aka Scott. Forgot how to do my intro real quick. Joining me always is my co-host, Finley Fiction, aka Finley. Say hi to the people, Finley.
Hello.
And today we will be continuing the topic from the Christmas special, being explaining the lore, because I had learned about Pikmin lore. Louis is the worst.
Yep.
And today, Today I will be finishing my explanation of JoJo's lore. Thankfully, I finished on part 3, meaning there's only 3 more parts to go. So, this will be, hopefully, easier. So, last I left off with Stardust Crusaders, introducing that protagonist, Jotaro Kujo. They had just defeated Dio, and Kakyoin, Abdul, and Iggy are dead.
Right.
And as per where everyone went after that, Jotaro was working with the Speedwagon Foundation. I don't remember if I explained them last episode.
I don't think you did.
Which is too bad because they're actually important. Basically, remember Speedwagon from part 1?
Yeah.
He, in part 2, created his own company called the Speedwagon Foundation. Essentially an anthropology and archaeology project. Whose main studies are of the stone masks and of stands.
Right.
At least of part 3, they study stands. So, Joseph is just going back to working with the Speedwagon Foundation and back with his wife Holly, and Jotaro has decided, once he graduates, he would also join the Speedwagon Foundation. And Polnareff is doing his own personal study into stands. Since he already got revenge on his dead sister. Alright? So, part 4. Jotaro has already graduated. I believe he's in his 20s at this point. Oh wait, you're muted. Finley, you're muted.
Yeah, I have to go do something. I'm getting Callan help.
Okay.
We have a special guest, Callan.
Hey!
He's fill in for me. I have to go unload the dishwasher. Hello, all my wonderful podcast viewers. Welcome back to the Dumpster Fire Podcast, starring me.
It's Common Sense Podcast.
Not anymore, it isn't.
Oh, okay.
Welcome to my show now.
Alright. Well, I guess I don't want to do the explanation of the lore for you because I don't want to have to pick up where I left off for Finley. So I guess, for you, how about we just do a separate topic?
I've been watching One Punch Man. Good show.
Yes, One Punch Man. Easily one of the greatest animes that has been put to screen. Fun fact about that anime, when it was a manga, it didn't actually start off as a manga.
Yes, it looked horrible.
Yeah, that was partially the point. The guy who started it, who the world just refers to as One, he never actually started off as like an artist. He actually was just a regular office worker, just like Saitama. But he just started everything as like web comics. It was just a hobby.
I haven't seen season 2, so watch what you say.
Oh, no, that's part 1. That's in season 1.
No, I'm just telling you. I've seen season 1. I know all that. I'm just making sure you don't say anything about season 2.
Oh, don't worry. I won't spoil season 2 for you. Yeah, I can't wait for season 3 to come out. You know Mappa took over?
I don't know who that is.
They're an animation.
I heard that the release date, it's going to be announced somewhere around summer.
That'll be a good summer. But Mappa is an animation studio. You probably know them from other projects like Chainsaw Man, Jujutsu Kaisen, Hell's Paradise. They did a little bit of Attack on Titan.
Yep, I have definitely watched none of those.
I think they're also going to be tackling the Suicide Squad anime coming out.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen a little bit of that, and it honestly looks really good. I like how they did a lot of the characters. Like, I think my favorites that they've done are Clayface and Joker. Those two, I feel like they were nailed really well.
Yeah, I really like that.
Like, bringing Clayface back to his comic book counterpart where he just had the face mask rather than being a man made of clay. I kind of like bringing back.
Did you see the trailer? You do realize that he does turn into a man made of clay, right?
Yeah, but he also goes back to a human form, which I
do really like that. I like that they changed that.
Yeah, and I also love how they did the Joker, how he has the painted-on fanged smile. I feel like that's a really good touch.
Yeah.
I feel like
that's One Punch Man. I just finished the first season literally today.
So you have seen the only person who could make Saitama do more than one punch.
Yeah. What kind of name is Boros?
Yeah. It's an alien name, apparently.
It's so hard to take him seriously when his name is Boros.
Well, it is easy to take him seriously considering he was one of the only people who could make Saitama have to throw more than one punch and make him use the serious punch.
Boros,
yeah, I mean, I've heard dumber names before. Like, have you ever heard of Kefka?
No.
Final Fantasy 8? No. 6 is the antagonist of Final Fantasy 6.
Okay, that's fair. That is a worse name.
Yeah, actually, I have heard a worse name. Smithy.
Yeah. That's horrible.
Yeah, and
I really liked the first season.
Yeah, everyone does. Everyone loves the first season, and everyone loves the first season's opening. I
think it was going to be possible to make a character that literally destroys everyone one punch so entertaining.
Not the first time anime has ever created a character who's just absurdly overpowered. You ever heard of Daily Life of the Immortal King?
No.
Okay, that is a good anime. It is essentially about a high school student who's literally the most powerful entity in all of creation. Like, so much so in the first season, he literally destroys and recreates the universe, like, twice.
Huh.
But he has to keep his powers on the down low because he can't easily control it as well because they're tied to his emotions. So it's just him trying to live a modern...
Oh, wait, he's back.
Like, not modern. It's him just trying to live a mundane, normal life. Oh, hey, Finley.
Yeah, hello.
Hey, I was just explaining an anime to Callan.
Okay. Callan, you can go. See you next time.
Yeah.
This is my show. Don't forget it.
So, welcome back to Common Sense Podcast. Thanks for being on it, though, Callan.
Yeah.
So, Finley.
Yep.
So, part 6 now, part 4. Diamond is Unbreakable. This one is, honestly, it's the most slice of life of all of the 6 parts.
Ooh, my favorite.
Because it takes place in a small town in Japan called Morio. And it follows
I already have a prediction. Everything's going to be great in this chapter until the second one where everything is going to just be on fire.
You're actually very close. Essentially, the protagonist here is Josuke Hitagawa. I believe that's his name. I don't remember if I actually put him in the... I forgot to actually put his last name in the notes. But whatever, Josuke, we can just put him as. He is a nephew of Jotaro because his father, Joseph, had a one-night stand with a girl in Morio.
Incredible.
Yeah, despite how much he says he's devoted to his wife, Holly, he had a one-night stand with a police chief's daughter.
That's not great.
Yeah. But out came a protagonist with the most overpowered healing ability known to existence. Crazy Diamond. That's Josuke's stand, by the way.
Yeah, what does it do?
It can essentially undo anything it touches. Like, if you suffered a stab wound...
Like, one of those film reels that would turn into oil.
A film strip?
Yes.
Kinda? Actually, yeah, he's done a lot of stuff. Like, there's a scene where he punches a dude and a girl through the stomach. It was a hostage situation. He punches them both through the stomach, heals the punch wound, and then traps the guy's knife in his stomach.
And why is it called Crazy Diamond?
I don't actually know. Every stand from this point onward is named after music, so maybe there's a song called Crazy Diamond or a band. I have no idea.
Well, I'm curious if that has to relate with diamonds originally just being dirt.
Carbon,
because
actually.
If you, take some earth and, give it an extreme amount of pressure, it will turn into diamond.
Carbon. Carbon is actually it. Specifically coal. When coal is put under immense pressure, it turns into diamond.
Yeah, so...
a little science lesson for everyone listening.
I can't remember. So if they touched a diamond, it would turn into coal.
Not entirely in that sense, but he has done things similar, like rewriting an ink letter or turning a pasta dish into its base ingredients.
Okay, that's very strange.
Yeah, the only caveat is that he cannot undo a fatal wound and he cannot heal himself.
Okay.
But it's also a very fast stand.
Good.
It can even undo kinetic energy.
Right.
So, essentially, he lives in Morio. He's just a regular high school student with a pompadour. And if you make fun of the pompadour, you are his enemy. You are his villain.
Why does he have a pompadour if he doesn't want people to make fun of it?
There is an actual reason. It's explained in a later episode, but basically, when he was 3 years old, he had come down with a cold that would have killed him if left untreated. So his mom tried to drive him to a hospital, but he got stuck in snow. It was winter. So, not only was Josuke about to die, but so was his mother. Couldn't get out of the snow, it was a fierce blizzard. But then one day, while they were there anticipating their own death, a man with a pompadour came up to the car and helped her get out of the snow. And Josuke, being 3, he was able to see the pompadour, and he was grateful to the man who saved him. So much so that he tried to find him all over town out of the hospital, but no one knew him. So Josuke gave himself a pompadour after the man who saved him and his mother. Which is why, if you make fun of his pompadour, you're essentially making fun of the man who saved his life and his mother's life.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So, Jotaro comes to Morio one day, this is episode 1, because he had just found out about Josuke. And Josuke, because of Dio taking over Jonathan's body, had awoken as a stand user, which is how he got Crazy Diamond. But he had also found out that a serial killer of the worst kind caliber has made his way to Morio. Just because. And Jotaro also believes that this man is connected to... I believe I explained this last episode, but it's essentially in this part when we learn how a person could get a stand outside of being born of a stand user. There are these special arrows that when you're struck by them and you survive, you get a stand. So only some people can have a stand in this world.
Okay.
Yeah, it's usually a fatal injury also. If you can survive the arrow being impaled through some part of your body, mostly the neck and head, then you get a stand. And the serial killer happened to have been struck by the arrow by a mysterious person who Jotaro believes is in Morio, and is now a stand user. His stand is known as Aqua Necklace. It's basically a small little water gremlin that can only move around in water.
Okay.
Or just any liquid. It can even turn itself into other liquids, like bourbon, which is how he killed Josuke's dad.
Wow.
Yeah. So, Josuke works with Jotaro, they catch the serial killer Angelo, and Josuke uses his stand's unique ability to repair anything it touches, and trapped Angelo within a rock. Like, he punched him into a rock and had rock forming all around Angelo's body and defeated him. Basically killed him. They weren't able to get any information except that the stand creator, basically the guy with the arrow, is somewhere in Morio. Most likely a high school student. Because Angelo remembered seeing a high school uniform. So they go around a bit. Also, Josuke has a best friend named Kokichi. He's weirdly short for a high school student, and he later on looks like that guy Guile from Street Fighter.
Okay.
You know, the dude known for the Sonic Boom thing with the tall blonde hair.
I don't play Street Fighter.
Oh, basically he at a part of the anime, Kokichi kind of looks like not Kokichi, Koichi. Kokichi's the Danganronpa character.
I swear you're pronouncing that wrong.
My bad. Koichi, he at a point...
every time you say Danganronpa, I swear it is Danganronpa.
I've heard it both ways. I actually have heard it said both ways.
Okay.
So, that's it. Like, I've heard Danganronpa, I've heard Danganronpa. One time I heard a guy say Danganronpa without the N, which was weird. But we're not talking about Danganronpa right now. We're talking about JoJo's.
Maybe that'll be the next episode.
Maybe. So, alongside Koichi, who just wants to help them out, they eventually find the guy who is making it. A man, I don't remember his first name, I just remember his last name, Nijima. So, for now, because he has a younger brother, I'll just be referring to this man as Older Nijima.
Okay.
So, Older Nijima has the stand arrow and has been trying to strike random people so that he can happen upon a stand user. Specifically, one with a stand that can destroy things. As in a power that is pure destruction.
Right.
He also has a younger brother named Okayasu who is important, but he doesn't have much importance now. He will later on, but I feel like I need to mention him. He's got one of the most powerful stands of this series known as the Hand, which has the power to scrape away anything the hand tries to scrape at. Like, it scrapes away anything the hand touches, and if it hits something like a wall, then the wall will just fuse together as if though that's what it looked like. And if he scrapes at the air, he creates a vacuum and can bring anything in front of him towards him.
Right.
The one caveat is that he's kind of an idiot.
Right.
He's very simple-minded. It's the one thing Older Nijima says. It's like, you have the most terrifying stand I've ever met, but it's held back by your idiocy. So, they hunt him down because the dude just shot Koichi with the arrow straight through the neck. They have to deal with his stand Worst Company, which is basically just a bunch of little army men, little tanks, and little planes with real bombs and guns. They beat him. Koichi's alive, has a stand that is an egg at the moment.
Okay.
And Older Nijima believes that they can do this. Basically, the reason why he's trying to find a stand that can just destroy things is because his father used to be one of Dio's minions, with the flesh bud and all. But when Dio died, he has a little fail-safe in place for people with flesh buds in their head that mutates them into grotesque monsters, basically. Incapable of human speech, incapable of human thought, just like base instinct. And he's basically an animal. An unkillable animal.
So they're like lobotomized people.
Kind of, actually, yeah. Except he's also immortal and cannot die. So, Older Nijima was looking for a stand user who could kill his father. But then Josuke repairs a torn up photo and everyone's happy. Except Older Nijima gets killed by a lightning chicken. No, I'm not kidding.
does that even mean? This sounds like an
Okay, they're basically introduced to a new stand user. Well, at first it's just his stand, Red Hot Chili Pepper. It takes the form of a chicken made of electricity.
Oh wait, that's a song. That's a band.
Yeah, there you go. You're picking up on it. The theme of stands being based off of music, like musicians, bands, songs, and albums.
Right.
So Red Hot Chili Pepper is a chicken made of electricity who can move through electrical currents, including phone lines.
Mm-hmm.
So it killed Nijima by pulling him into a phone line made of electricity and frying his body, leaving him suspended on phone lines. He took the arrow to make more stand users. Why, do you ask?
Why?
I'll get to that. It is a very devious reason, I'll tell you that. So, for now, we just have the regular storyline. It's, for the most part, slice of life, where it's basically every episode is just that week's stand user, that episode's stand user. A couple of them important, I say important, but it's like they occur in one other episode, and that's usually it. There's a guy whose stand can make you regret things. He is important for unlocking Koichi's stand Reverb, or Echoes in English, but I'm just using the Japanese languages because that was the original. And I also saw this in sub, so I just know it through sub. So yeah, Koichi has a stand now named Reverb. It looks like it looks like half of a gremlin.
Like Reverb McIntyre.
Oh, there you go. So, yeah, Reverb has the power to essentially...
wait, did you say Reverb?
Reverb, with a B.
Oh, then never mind. I thought you said Reverb.
No, Reverb. So Reverb has the power to essentially put words on people and make them real. Like, he can make a person believe by putting believe on them. He can hurt a person
his
by...
power is gaslight.
Oh, true. It is kind of like Epithets Never Last. So, kind of, yeah. So, he defeats the stand user, and the guy is now indebted to Koichi out of fear. They meet a guy who can clone other people with a wooden mannequin.
What's his called? I really want to know.
I believe it's called... Show Off, yeah.
Okay, I just want to guess all the musicians and stuff.
Okay, that's fair. So they find
I do not know that one.
him. Koichi eventually meets a girl who's not only a stand user, but is in love with him. It gets a little psycho at first, to the point where she actually threatens to put him in an electric chair. But don't worry, because his stand suddenly evolves. Also, her stand is called Love Deluxe, and it's basically just her hair. She's just got, super hair. It's prehensile. If she puts her hair in your scalp, she can control your head.
Right.
And that's basically...
Oh, that's another Epithets Never Last character.
Oh, true! So, yeah, that's Love Deluxe. But Koichi also has his stand evolve while being threatened to be put in an electric chair. And now it's Reverb Act 2, which has the power to put effects on its words. He can now create... if he puts burn on something, the object will actually burn. Or if he puts spring on something, the object will spring up. Or if he creates a ball that is just simply the word sizzle, it acts like heat. He can basically... He goes from imprinting words to creating words.
Right.
And then once again, he combs his hair to look like Guile from Street Fighter. And the girl is not seen until the next villain. And by that, I mean the villain after Red Hot Chili Pepper.
Yes.
So there aren't many other stand users outside of him, because I believe the only other one I'm thinking of, I believe he's a lot later. There is also a guy I talked about in a short on my channel called Antonio, who simply just has the power to make health benefits in his food become maximized.
Right.
But he's, for the most part, unimportant. So I'm just going to skip ahead. So eventually the whole situation with Red Hot Chili Pepper is becoming too dangerous. So they have to call in Jotaro's grandfather, Joseph, who now has dementia.
Okay.
So they call him in, they find an invisible baby, Joseph takes her in, and we actually never hear from again. And then we finally confront Red Hot Chili Pepper's master, who I forgot to write down the name of in my notes. Like, I have a bunch of other things, I forgot his name. But whatever, we'll just refer to him as Red Hot Chili Pepper's user. So, sorry about that. Are you still there, Finn? Oh, there you are. Okay.
Yeah.
So, we learn what Red Hot Chili Pepper wants to do. He wants to become a world-famous guitarist. And he believes that the Joestar family and Josuke and his friends are all a threat to that dream, so he's making a bunch of stand users to slow them down and kill them. I'm not kidding.
This guy's a little over the top.
Well, to be fair, Red Hot Chili Pepper is actually a really tough stand. It draws power from electricity as well.
Okay.
So, yeah, that happens. So, yeah, also I forgot to say this, but Okuyasu is now Josuke's friend after his brother was killed.
Why?
Because he wanted to help Josuke find the guy who killed his brother. But then eventually they just become friends.
Okay.
Yeah, and Okuyasu actually does beat the stand user after he disguises himself as a crew member because Joseph was on a boat. And they tried to... and because Okuyasu hadn't seen the guy yet, he was just waiting with Joseph on the boat. Oh yeah, the reason they call in Joseph is because of his stand Hermit Purple, which has the stand power of spirit photography. I believe I explained this last episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, where basically he can make an image appear that he wants to appear. So they thought they could have used him to find Red Hot Chili Pepper's user.
Yeah.
They never did because the guy just ended up coming out on his own. He nearly kills Joseph. Okuyasu punches him, even though it was a whole, like, who's the real crew member and who's actually the stand user. Okuyasu punches out the right guy, and when he's asked how he knew it was him, he said, I didn't. I was just going to punch the other guy afterwards. Like I said, Okuyasu's kind of simple-minded, but we love him anyway. So, yeah, Joseph goes home with the invisible baby. Eventually, it's actually not yet. It's actually at the end of the arc. But we also don't actually see him again until the end of the arc. So, it felt like I just had to bring it up now.
Got it.
Yeah. Also, while he does meet with Josuke, he doesn't meet with the mom because he felt ashamed, and they just kind of left it at that.
Got it.
So now for the next villain. Well, first of all, there is actually one other stand user I have to bring up. I believe he's brought up during Red Hot Chili Pepper. I could be wrong, but I might as well introduce him now because there are 2 stand users introduced. Technically 3, but kind of. That are important to this storyline. These are Shigechi, a very simple-minded high schooler with a stand called Harvest, which is basically just thousands of little guys.
Yeah.
And he just uses it to collect leftover change from the town and just put it in jars. That's it.
Got it.
He's not really a threat. He's, again, very simple. And I'm just trying to keep it at that without being offensive.
Okay.
So he's there, he's kind of a friend, but he's also kind of stingy. And that's basically it for him. Then they meet Rohan Kishibe, a manga user who's actually the most important of the introduced characters. He's a manga creator, despite only being 20. And his stand is one of the most overpowered, called Heaven's Door. It basically lets him turn people into books and write things in them so that he can control their actions and memories.
Okay.
Yeah,
It reminds me of Death Note.
True. it's a more powerful death, though, because he doesn't just kill people. He can straight up alter their memories, their souls, everything. Because if he tears a page out of you, he can actually rip parts of your soul out to make you lighter and weaker. Yeah, he's a villain at first, but he calms down when he learns about the next villain. And I might as well just say that villain now. He's a serial killer with a weird hand fetish.
Okay.
Yeah, his name is Yoshikage Kira. I'm not going to do this spiel because I have not memorized it, so JoJo's fans, I apologize. I'm not going to do the Yoshikage Kira speech. So Yoshikage Kira, basically, he's a dude who just wants to do his own thing and just be a normal guy. Except for one problem, he's not normal, he has a weird thing for hands. So much so that he kills women by blowing up parts of their body until only their hand remains, and then just dates the hand.
I don't like that.
Yeah, he's a weird villain. People love him, I understand why, he's a terrifying villain, but he's a weird villain. And he'll do whatever it takes to keep his secret safe, including killing Shigechi at one point. But Shigechi leaves them all with a note, and by that I mean he leaves them with a button from Kira's shirt, so that they know this is who we have to look for. Whoever shirt matches this button, then we know that's our killer. And they only know to start looking for him because Rohan in one episode goes with Koichi down a haunted alleyway and they meet a ghost girl named Rimi. And her dog, Arnold. Is the dog
also a ghost?
Yeah, they're both ghosts.
Okay.
And basically, she was Yoshikage's first victim, and her soul is trapped in that alleyway until Yoshikage is brought to justice. So, Rohan, alongside Koichi and all of their friends, alongside the death of Shigechi, decide to look for this serial killer. Especially Rohan when he learns that Reimi actually used to babysit him. And in fact, he was almost a victim of Yoshikage Kira, but Reimi, who was babysitting him, got him out of the house before they were killed. So despite how much he doesn't really admit it, he owes his life to Reimi, and he wants to now hunt down Kira. And then as for that third stand user, she's not entirely important, except for one episode afterwards, but essentially, I don't remember her name, but her stand is called Cinderella, and it can basically alter a person's physical appearance.
That's not a song.
Yeah, it's kind of cool in concept, because she helps Koichi and that psycho girl fall in love. Like, she becomes less psycho, and they actually have a very healthy relationship, surprisingly. Despite him being very short. I feel like I have to specify, he's really short. Like, he looks like he should be in, like, elementary school. But nope, he's a high schooler.
Okay.
Yeah, so eventually they all, alongside Jotaro, because he's helping as well, they track down a lead to finding Kira, which was just a tailor. He is about to reveal the existence of Kira, but then he's killed by Kira's stand. He actually is one of the very interesting characters who has more than one stand. Kind of. He has his main stand, Killer Queen.
You mentioned how they can have more than one stand. How does that work?
It's weird. Let me explain. So, first he has his main stand, Killer Queen, a humanoid stand that has the power to turn things...
Oh my gosh, that's the Queen song.
Yeah. And Killer Queen has the power to turn things into bombs. That's it. And he can also send an extra stand out of his left hand, known as Sheer Heart Attack. And Sheer Heart Attack is that other stand. It's basically a mine on treads that gravitates itself towards the hottest object in a given area. And when it gets there, it explodes. The hotter the object, the greater the explosion.
Okay.
And it's also not only indestructible, but it's a remote stand, meaning that it acts of its own instincts and volition, rather than being controlled by Kira directly. Excuse me. So he nearly kills Jotaro. Koichi finds out how to distract him. It doesn't last long, and he's nearly killed. But don't worry, because Reverb Act 2 has now turned into Reverb Act 3. That's right, it evolved again, like a Pokemon. And Reverb Act 3 is his most powerful iteration, despite only having a range of 3 meters. You know why?
Why?
Because it has the power to make an object heavy. Just continuously heavy. It basically creates gravity wells. It can only create one at a time.
So he just makes things denser?
Not denser, heavier.
That's how gravity works.
Kind of. He can increase the weight of something and hold it in place. Hence why it's activated by the phrase 3 freeze. By rhyming 3 and freeze, Reverb Act 3 can hold something in place with weight.
Okay.
And that's actually how they were able to not only drive Yoshikage out of hiding, but further want him to go back into hiding. He just wanted to kill Koichi first and get sheer heart attack back. So he almost defeated them, he was almost defeated by them, but he managed to get away in a smoke screen, because he can make those kinds of explosions as well, just simple smoke screens. And he managed to disguise himself using the help of Cinderella's stand user. He basically took a guy from his job, because he has a regular office job. He took a guy from his work, took him to the Cinderella salon, which is where Cinderella's stand user is, and forced her to make him look like his employer. So that way he would have a completely different identity and appearance. So he was basically going back to hiding. And to keep her from telling them about what he looks like, and from them seeing what the other guy looked like, he blew them both up with Killer Queen. And also he can make 2 different types of explosions. He can either make a timed one, and by timed I mean remote. He can either make something remotely detonate by clicking his thumb, or he can make it instant.
Right.
So it's by instant I mean it can either be by immediate touch or the moment something touches it.
Right.
So he now has taken the appearance of a man who has a wife and son. I don't remember the wife. All you have to know is that she's an idiot, because despite this man who looks like her husband acting completely different from her husband, instead of thinking it's suspicious, she just falls in love with him over her now dead husband.
Wow.
And the son is completely suspicious about this, and despite being a preschooler, is weirdly a genius, like Kevin McAllister level intelligent. But replace the death traps with a series of spy cameras set up all over his house, including in his parents' bedroom.
That's creepy.
Yeah, he's an odd child, but he's also the one who helps Josuke and his friends discover the stand user. You know, Kira. Also, they learn that Yoshikage has an accomplice in the form of his father, who's just a picture of his father in a little photo, because that's his stand, known as Heart Father, which has the power to take anything a camera takes a picture of, and he can enter it and affect what was in the picture. So we could kill someone in the picture and kill them in the real world.
Okay.
But after his camera's destroyed, he just takes the arrow out of Jotaro's pocket. Well, not his pocket. I forgot where. I think this is when we learn that there's more than one arrow. But regardless, he takes the stand arrow and he starts making stand users to help slow down and kill Josuke and his friends. I don't remember all of the stand users. The only ones I really remember are there's a dude whose stand is literally just a radio tower that he can't leave, and a guy who can turn things into paper. That's it.
That first one is useless.
Yeah, you think that's useless? There's a kid whose power only works if you play rock, paper, scissors with him.
That's less useless.
Yeah, but all it does is just take stands from people, so it can't even be used against normal stand users.
So if he wins a rock, paper, scissors, he can take somebody's stand.
Yeah, not use it for himself, he just simply takes the stand away from them.
Okay.
Yeah. So, some shenanigans later, they eventually well, it's not that they find him, but it's rather, the son, Hayato, by the way, he eventually discovers that his father is Yoshikage Kira. He discovers that he has a cat that's also a plant. I forgot to mention this, but there's a cat who was turned into a stand user, and and all the stand can do is just create air bubbles. Now, granted, these air bubbles are dangerous. They can not only hold someone in place, but they can also create loud explosions.
Okay.
But, again, air explosions. So, that's basically what that does. So, eventually, the cat's accidentally killed by Hayato's mother. Kira buries it in the front yard, and it turns into a plant that's alive. It's a living cat plant.
Wow.
Yeah, and he just kind of puts it in a pot and keeps it in the attic, where Hayato discovers
it. Is it a nice cat plant?
What?
Is it a nice cat plant?
It is kind of cute. And it's also called Stray Cat. I think that's the name of the stand, at least. So, yeah. So, there's that. Hayato eventually discovers Kira is his father, and Kira almost kills him in the bathroom, but Hayato exposes that he had a camera hidden so that he would expose the truth. So, basically, Kira couldn't kill him. Or at least, he could kill him, but he couldn't be hidden. And then, at that point, the Heart Father comes back, the arrow goes into Kira when the child's been knocked unconscious, and it gives him a third stand ability, referred to as Bites the Dust.
Another Queen song.
Yes. No, that was a Michael Jackson song.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, well, I'm wrong. Whatever. So, Bites the Dust can essentially... It's a weird stand. Basically, by putting Killer Queen into a person, meaning Kira can no longer use it, he can put that person in a time loop. But whatever happens in a previous time loop will always happen in the next time loop. So if something breaks in one, it will always break no matter what you do.
Okay.
And at the same time, there's a special condition where if someone discovers the existence of either Yoshikage, Kira, or of Bites the Dust, then they will explode. And whoever the stand is inside of cannot take their own life, as it will protect them. So with this inside of Hayato, he was living a time loop Groundhog's Day style, and basically had to watch Rohan, Josuke, and all of his friends be blown up. Hayato was eventually able to beat him off of the gamble by waking Josuke up early and trying to use a Stray Cat to kill Kira, but it didn't work because of a book. And Kira was about to kill Hayato. But then Josuke walked in, saw this happening, realized that the dude was Kira, and immediately tried to kill him. So he took Bites the Dust back, and Rohan didn't explode. So Hayato had beaten the time loop. And then one death scare later, Okuyasu dies, but not really. He comes back to life thanks to Josuke's quick healing. Heartfather is burned because he's, once again, a Polaroid picture.
Okay.
And Yoshikage is exposed in front of a bunch of people in a street. And he's about to turn a nurse into his next Bites the Victim character, but he's stopped by Koichi and Jotaro. But he's not... he is killed, but in a very different way. Instead of him being pummeled to death like everyone else usually dies in this show, or being turned into a donut, you have a hole punched in your stomach, Instead, he's knocked to the ground in a state of shock and has an ambulance run over his head.
Wow.
So they all think it's a disappointing ending, but he actually ends up in the Ghost Girl alley with Raimi and Arnold. And there's one thing I forgot to mention with this alley, where it loops back, it keeps looping unless you take a specific path. And on that specific path, if you look behind you, then you will be pulled into the afterlife by terrifying hands. So Raimi forces Yoshikage to look behind himself with the help of Arnold, and he dies. Again.
Okay.
So that's basically the end. Everyone just then kind of lives their own life. Jotaro and Joseph leave. The baby's put up for adoption, and Jotaro becomes a marine biologist off of a paper published about starfishes. And basically everyone just kind of lives a normal life. And
That's good.
That's basically part 4. Also, I'm just not realizing we've been going for 46 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll try to be quick, but we may have to make this a 3-parter, if you don't mind.
Okay.
So, part 5, Golden Wind. This one is considered by a lot of people to be the best part outside of Stardust Crusaders, solely for the theme. Like, it has one of the best character themes of anything. Like, look at the Giorno theme. It's one of the best things you'll ever hear.
Okay.
Like, it's the epitome of why do I hear boss music. And essentially this one, it takes place in Italy, believe it or not. And this is also where a very interesting trend in JoJo's happens, where everyone dresses like there's a fabric shortage, and stands like they have the weirdest Charlie horse of their life.
Okay.
And this one follows, believe it or not a Joestar. Well, sort of. If you count people who are like the children of Dio as a Joestar, then I guess he's a Joestar, but he's not really. Basically, it's a man named Giorno Giovanna, a high schooler in Italy who only wants one thing in his life: to be a mafia.
To be a what?
A mafia.
Why?
Well, you see, when he was born... Well, first of all, I guess in backstory, Dio, he killed a lot of the women he slept with, except for a few, and one of them in particular was Giorno's mother. He let her live for some reason. And she was a neglectful parent.
Maybe he just didn't feel like it that day.
Maybe he sensed Giorno's greatness, but regardless, she was left alive, and she was a terrible mother. When Giorno was born, she didn't want to take care of him. She just left him in a crib all the time and just went out partying with other friends. Eventually, she met an Italian man, changed her last name, obviously, and moved to Italy. Except this man was very abusive to Giorno, and Giorno had a terrible life. His father abused him, his mother neglected him, everyone in Italy basically bullied him, including one guy who ran an ice cream shop, and his life was terrible. Until he saw a man bleeding in an alleyway who told him to not let them find him. And when a bunch of mafia guys that walked up and asked Giorno where a guy was, he pointed the opposite direction. And at the same time, his stand was also partially awakening as the man was covered in vines. And the dude basically said, "I owe you my life." And from that day forward, Giorno's life was made better. His friends were saving him seats at a movie theater, the ice cream dude was giving him free ice cream, and his dad stopped beating him.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So his life was...
The last one was a slice of life. This one seems so much better.
Yeah, except it's not slice of life, because then he runs into the mafia guy again after he just killed a man, and the son tried to kill him. And that's when the man said, "Your father was a mafia who sold drugs to women and children. That is not a true person. I want to be the kind of mafia who protects people." So Giorno said... So that is why Giorno's sole desire in life is to become a primo mafioso, so he can protect the good people of Italy.
Okay.
So this is the most shonen of all of the parts. So, at first he thought this opportunity would never come, until he ran into a dude who wouldn't stop crying and hit people with shovels, and Giorno killed him. by accident, because Giorno's stand had eventually awoken, known as Golden Experience, which is probably the most overpowered protagonist stand outside of the manga, because I haven't read it, so I can't give enough of an explanation about Part 7's protagonist. So for now, it's Golden Experience. Essentially, Golden Experience has the power to control living objects. Not only can he redirect physical damage onto a person, which is how he killed the dude known as Ligi I Luca, by the way, but he can also do things like make trees grow out of nowhere just by touching something, and he can turn inanimate objects into animals and back. And if he punches someone with his stand, he can give them superhuman cognition, basically making them view things faster than their eyes can and brain can perceive.
Okay.
Making them essentially rendered immobile. So he killed Luca by accident, then a dude named Bruno Bucciarati came and tried to kill him, but instead gained Giorno's trust and respect and wanted him to join the mafia group he was a part of, Passione. So he met with a very large man named Polpo, who was so large Giorno mistook him for a king-size bed, and put him to a test where if he could keep a lighter ignited for a whole day and then returned it to Polpo in his prison cell, then he would be a member of Passione. He kind of did the lighter was extinguished, but it turns out to be a part of Polpo's stand known as Shadow Sabbath, which can only attack people who have witnessed the lighter being extinguished, hits them with the stand arrow, so they either die or become a stand user, and can only attack a person if they're in a shadow. Otherwise, it can't appear.
Okay.
On top of that, I also forgot to mention Bruno's stand is known as Sticky Fingers, or Zipper Man in other translations. It creates zippers, which is more powerful than you think. So, Giorno manages to survive. He runs into Koichi because Jotaro asked him to look up information on Giorno, as he was a son of Dio. But he just found out he was an okay person, and we never hear from Jotaro or Koichi ever again. And then he goes to see Polpo again, gives him back the lighter, and turns a gun into a banana and kills Polpo.
Wait, how does he kill him?
Remember when I said he can turn an inanimate object into a living thing?
Yeah.
That also accounts for fruits and vegetables. He can turn an object into a fruit or vegetable. So
how does he kill him with a banana?
Simple. He turned a gun into a banana, Polpo went to eat it, the banana turned back into a gun and shot him. So Polpo was killed from inside his cell. And this made a lot of waves in the business, in Passione, and a lot of people wanted to now become in place of Polpo by killing the person who's most likely to take his place, Bruno Bucciarati, a very high-ranking member of Passione. He even had his own crew, the members of which were Abacchio, a former cop whose stand can replay a person's actions, Naranja, like a 14-year-old or 17, I forget, he's a teenager whose stand is called Aerosmith, and it has the power to, it's a plane. It's a plane, that's all it is. It has a radar that Naranja can see through, and it has guns and a single nuke. Well, not nuke, it has a bomb it can drop. Then there's, I'm forgetting the fourth guy. Well, to be fair, he's only fought one time and then he leaves after a point, so I guess it doesn't matter. But there's a dude whose stand is called Purple Haze, and it basically creates a poisonous gas.
Okay.
And also, Abacchio's stand is called Moody Jazz. So Giorno joins the group. They get assigned to their first mission, which is to find a girl named Trish, who's Passione's boss's daughter, and they have to transport her to a location. So they run into a bunch of stand users, and they also meet a hitman group. Well, later. I actually believe that comes later. For now, or does... No, wait! No, it is now, because they get the help of another stand user who's a turtle, who, when you put a key into his back, can create a room that a person can be in. But at the same time, they have to deal with a hitman group who's against Passione, who used to be working with Passione, but they're against them now, because they killed some dudes. They killed some people who were important to the group, and they decided, we're just gonna kill the boss now. And they wanted to do this by killing Trish and the people escorting her, so that they could possibly draw the boss out of hiding. Following?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they run into some of them. One of them has a stand called Grateful Dead. The other guy has a fishing rod, and the other guy has a stand that only activates when he dies. And the other guy has a stand that can impregnate people. So that's the Hitman group. And then there's their leader, who's the only person whose name I memorized. And by memorized, I mean have in a Word document. Okay. And his name is Nero. But he's not important yet. There's just the others. And the only thing I'm going to say about one of them is that the guy whose stand only activates when he dies, but the stand is basically immortal, activates Trish's stand, known as Spice Girl, which has the power to make things soft and rubbery. Oh, my cat's here. And then the guy with the stand that impregnates things, he helped Giorno unlock a new ability where he can turn something inorganic into not just a living animal, but organs as well. So he can basically heal a person's wounds by refilling the lost organs and tissue. He can even bring back a person's tongue. So they find the place where they were supposed to drop off Trish. Bucciarati goes alone with her, and she gets kidnapped while they're in the elevator by her father. Because he's a man who's so intense about privacy that he'll kill anyone who has even the slightest tie back to him, which even includes his daughter. And if anyone hears bells in the background, I'm just distracting my cat. So yeah, and also, I might as well just say this now, but the stand user's name, just so I don't have to keep calling him the boss, his name is Diavolo.
Wait, what?
Diavolo.
Okay.
And his stand is called King Crimson, and it has the power to destroy time and skip ahead in it. So he basically has time skip power. And he can also see 10 seconds into the future. But that's because it has a secondary stand ability as well called Eulogy. And this is because Diavolo has dissociative identity disorder. You following so far?
Yeah.
Yeah, so his other personality is named Doppio. He's a very silly guy who can actually talk to Diavolo directly whenever he hears a phone ring. But it never has to be an actual phone. It just has to be something his brain thinks is a phone. So it can even be something like a seashell or an air freshener. Or a dead hand. So that's how this stand has two. It has King Crimson and Eulogy. So there's them. And all while this is... So Bucciarati actually dies with his encounter with Diavolo, but Giorno kind of brings him back to life. But he makes him a zombie who only has a little bit left to live. So, yeah. And then they all basically decide, we're going to go against Passione, and we're going to kill Diavolo. Oh, now I remember the other guy's name. It's Fugo. Fugo doesn't want to go because he doesn't want to die, and we never see of him again.
That's reasonable.
Yeah, we see him like one time towards the end of the anime when he's just enjoying spaghetti at a cafe, but we never see Fugo again. So it's just these guys and a turtle. So they now have to deal with the other members of Passione who Diavolo is sending to kill them, which includes, honestly, not many of them matter except for one guy who's... Oh, I'm just not remembering that the dude with the unkillable stand is actually introduced in this half. So this is when he's introduced, and this is when Trish unlocks her stand, Spice Girl. So outside of that, the only other ones that matter are a guy named Chocolata, who's a psycho doctor who can create mold, and his assistant, whose name I do not remember, except for the fact that he has the power to swim through solid surfaces. Oh, wait, I'm just not remembering. I forgot a member of Bucciarati's crew. That's Mista. Mista's stand is called Six Bullets, and it has and it's basically just some gremlins that sit on guns, or not guns, on bullets, and when he fires it, they can redirect a bullet's trajectory.
Okay.
I forgot to mention him. So, yeah. So, while they're trying to hunt down Diavolo, the last member of the Hitman squad, Nero, manages to actually confront him. So he actually almost kills Diavolo with his stand, Metallica, which has the power to turn...
Oh, that's a band.
Yep. And Metallica has the...
It's just the ones I know I have to point out.
That's fair. So Metallica has the power to do two things. It can make Nero invisible by altering the iron in his blood to make him blend in with things, like a chameleon. And it can take a person that Metallica has latched onto and turn all of the iron in their blood into metal objects. And if you're not killed by a pair of scissors coming out of your throat or by coughing up razor blades, you'll die from the iron deficiency. Because if you didn't know, your blood needs iron to take in oxygen. So Diavolo, as Doppio, nearly dies, but he doesn't by random luck and Narancia distracting them. And then he eats a child, so that he can regain the lost iron back. So Nero dies.
That is awful.
Yeah, so Nero dies, Doppio's alive, and then as Diavolo, he kills Abbacchio. So Abbacchio's dead. But not before he leaves them a message by using his stand Booty Jazz to turn a rock into his attacker's face. And then they get randomly emailed by a mysterious person who knows about Diavolo. And it's actually the one who tells them that their leader's name is Diavolo. So he tells them to meet them at the Roman Colosseum. They do. Then they run into Chocolata and his little assistant friend. Excuse me. We start to learn that Bruno is a zombie at this point because he's immune to the mold stand and also close to dying as he's starting to lose things like sight. And that's also when we learn the person who wanted them to meet at the Colosseum is Polnareff.
Gas.
Yep. Apparently he had a run-in with Diavolo a while ago, nearly died, ended up crippled, and learned a secret about the stand arrow, where it can actually impale a person again if they're chosen by the arrow again, and unlock a power that they can just kind of turn off and on at will, known as Requiem. Essentially what Requiem does is it gives a new power to your stand and gives it a new name, which is literally just the stand's name, but it has Requiem at the end of it. So his stand, Silver Chariot, is now Silver Chariot Requiem, which has the power to swap souls.
We've been going for an hour and 9 minutes.
True. I'm almost done. This is literally the end of Golden Wind. So, as they're in their Colosseum, they do a body swapping because Diavolo caught up to Polnareff and he had to turn on Silver Chariot Requiem to make everyone swap bodies, including Doppio and Diavolo into 2 separate bodies. So that happens. And it also means that the bodies now have the stands of that soul. So, like, Bruno enters Diavolo's body and but still retains sticky fingers. So they have to go through and try to catch Silver Chariot as the souls are interacting badly with the bodies and turning everyone into horrifying bugs because the souls aren't compatible with the body. So they have to hunt down Silver Chariot Requiem before Diavolo can, because if Diavolo can get his hands on the arrow, then he can turn his stand into King Crimson Requiem. Except he can't, because when he eventually does, it doesn't work. His stand is not chosen by the arrow. Also, Narancia dies. I forgot to mention that, but yeah, Narancia's dead. So, yeah, so they eventually catch up, and then the arrow does eventually choose Giorno. And that's when he creates his stand, Golden Experience Requiem, which has the power to revert things to a state of zero. Which basically means he can revert things back to when he turned his stand into Golden Experience Requiem. Following?
Yes.
Yeah. So that happens. I feel like there's something I might be slightly forgetting. I don't believe so. I think I've caught up with everything. Oh, Polnareff gets his soul swapped with the turtle. And when Silver Chariot dies, Polnareff doesn't because he's in a turtle. But his body does. So now Polnareff is a turtle.
So if you were to crush the turtle, would he die?
Yes. So Polnareff is now a turtle. And then with the power of Golden Experience Requiem, he's able to undo King Crimson's time skip and actually force him to run away. But not before he laid a trap on him that's activated when the homeless man kills Diavolo.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how he dies. He goes into a little cave for shelter that two homeless guys were living in and gets stabbed. But he doesn't just die. This is the other power of Golden Experience Requiem. He can force a person to live out an infinite number of deaths, where in their mind, Diavolo is now dying and coming back to life over and over and over again, facing a new death every time. Also, Doppio technically dies, so Diavolo was just a one-personality guy. Yeah. So Diavolo's dead. Bruno eventually, his body gives out and he's dead. So the only ones who survived were Giorno, Mista, and Trish. And Polnareff as a turtle. And Giorno then takes over Passione and becomes the primo mafioso he wanted to be, with Mista, Trish, and Turtle Polnareff at his side.
Yay.
And that's Golden Wind. And as for part 6, we're going to have to save that for next episode. I did not expect this to be a 3-parter. I am sorry.
It's fine.
So, I thank everyone so much for tuning into this episode of the Common Sense Podcast. If you liked what you saw, or what you heard, be sure to subscribe. Comment down below so we can connect with you all. Like this episode so we know this is the kind of content you want to see. Share the episode so more people know this podcast even exists. And don't forget to hit the bell so you know when we post. And until next time, see you guys for part 3 of Explaining JoJo's Lore.
And that was the Trash Fire Podcast with Callan.
Oh, alright. Common sense, dumpster fire, trash fire, whatever. See you guys.
Do that again.